What is happening? What is going on? What am I doing? Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I've got an extra video up this week because I'm going to tell you about the time I applied for and nearly got on the TV show The Fantastical Factory of Curious Crafts. Now if you're not from the UK you might not know what this TV show is, but it's basically a crafting competition that's recently aired on Channel 4. By the time this video has gone up, the second episode will have just come out. And I've seen the first episode and the show itself, it's fine. There's a little bit too much Keith Lemon and not enough crafting and crafters for my liking. But it is a really easy show to watch. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're interested in craft and competition TV shows. And I suppose this whole story began back in July in 2019, so last year. And I was probably just in the studio, minding my own business, probably working very, very hard. And I received a message on Instagram from this casting company, and they basically said that they came across my profile and they were looking for jaw-dropping crafts and people to apply for this TV show. And I was quite skeptical because I was wondering, do they know what I actually make and what I actually do? So I actually replied to them saying, I don't know whether my ideas are jaw-dropping. I like to big myself up. But then they assured me that it's not for professionals and it's just for people who enjoy crafts, and that they were going to give me a phone call. So a couple of days later I had a conversation with this head of casting guy. He basically said that he wanted me to apply for the show and submit something. So after a couple of days of thinking about it, I was like, may as well, why not? So I had to fill in this form and send it off to him, which I did. And then within a couple of days, he sent me an email back saying that I had to record an audition tape. And this was all very last minute, it was all very rushed. I will leave my audition tape at the end of this video, and it is not good. It is cringy, it's embarrassing, but you might enjoy it. It's not good. It is not good. So they sent me over another email saying basically what I had to do in this audition video and gave me some questions to answer, which is what I did, and I sent it off to them, and that was that really. So about a week or so later they got in touch saying that they wanted me to come down for a physical audition in Manchester. And at the time I was thinking that this is a lot of effort to go to something where you've actively approached me to be on your TV show. I didn't. What is happening? What is going on? What am I doing? And there are many times when I thought about backing out of this because I have no interest in being like a celebrity or well-known or famous or any of that bullshit. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about being on TV. So this was all very strange. However, I think they messaged me in a time when I was going through a midlife crisis. And I think that midlife crisis is it's still ongoing. It hasn't left yet. So a couple of weeks later, I packed my car up and off I went from Durham to Manchester for this physical audition. Now this is the first time I've ever done anything like this. It was very surreal, very strange, and it felt very quick too. I hadn't prepared myself. I'm a very anxious person and anxiety kind of rules my life. And I almost didn't have time to be anxious, which made me more anxious. So anyway, I got to Manchester. I got there about 2 or 3 hours early because I'm ridiculous and I overplan and overthink everything. And the auditions were at this swanky hotel. It was very nice. And I went up to the floor that they were holding all these auditions, and there were a few other people sat around, and I just kind of sat in the corner out the way because it's kind of that scenario of first date school where you don't know whether you want to talk to anyone, so you just kind of play on your phone and ignore everyone until it becomes a little bit more comfortable. And then after a while we started to get to know each other and stuff, and I will say all the other contestants that I was there with who were auditioning at the time, in kind of my little group, there were lots and lots of groups. They were all really nice. They were really nice people, and they were really talented too. I don't think anyone out of my group actually ended up on the TV show, but I haven't seen the entire series yet, so there might be. So we're all just in this holding room, kind of making small talk and chit chat, and then the producers took us into this room, and they basically wanted us all sat on different tables, and we would have to make a craft project. And I wish I'd taken a photo of it. You had to make a craft project that was kind of symbolic to you or something like that. And I made this hideous dream catcher. It was just awful because the only materials they gave you were like little shitty pom-poms, like sugar paper, and just proper kids craft supplies. So you were very limited as to what you could make. And as we were all busy making our little craft projects, they would come around with their ginormous cameras. They were absolutely huge. Like, I'm used to my little tiny Canon camera, and they had these just massive things coming round like in your face and stuff. And then the top producer guy would ask you questions about kind of you and your life and what you're making. And the idea is that you could still continue making your craft and still engage with people. That's what they were looking for anyway. So I did that. I was first up. They came around with the camera. I was very nervous, busy with my little paper dream catcher, not knowing what I was doing. And then, yeah, they asked us some questions about like my dogs, and I think I said I was interested in horror films in my audition tape, but I'm not that into horror films where I can get quizzed on it. So they asked us some questions about horror films, and that kind of stumped us a bit. I was like, what the f***? But I did the best, and we carried on, and the camera went around everyone else. And I think we were there for about an hour or so. And then after we'd completed our craft project and they'd finished film and everything, we had to come up to the front in front of this panel of producers. And by the way, I'm not sure whether all these people are called producers or what their correct term is, but I will say the people in charge, all the staff and the camera people and the producers or whatever they're called, they were all absolutely lovely. They were so nice. And anyway, we got up and they would ask us some questions about what we'd made, and then we were on camera still and stuff, and it was very intimidating and weird. I can only compare it to when you're at school and you have to do a presentation in front of the class. That's what it feels like. So I was just like clenching and cringing and just so uncomfortable. But we got all that out the way with. I didn't do anything too embarrassing. I think I did talk about my dream catcher, and it started to take a bit of a dark twist. I can't really remember what I said, but it didn't sound good. Yeah, it started to become very dark and very sinister and very depressing also. It was very much about my life. So that was a bit weird. I think I weirded them out a little bit. But other than that, I really held it back. And then once all that was done, we were allowed to go back to this little room, and they would call us back individually for one-on-one like interviews. And it was a strange one because obviously I do YouTube. I'm used to looking at the camera, but I wasn't allowed to in this. So the producer would be over here and the camera would be there, and I would have to answer the questions facing this way. And I was just so tempted to be like, and look at the camera because I'm so used to it. So that was strange. But other than that, it was fine. I thought everything had gone perfectly well. They were all very lovely, and off I went back to Durham. And I did drive to Manchester and back in a day and do all this auditioning thing. It was such a long day. I was knackered by the time I got back. And I'm just putting this out there for this kind of TV show and everything. Yeah, they're reimbursing you for travel and expenses and stuff, but they're not paying you for it. There's no grand prize for this competition show or anything like that. You're basically there to make them money. Just keep that in mind. So after about a week or so being back home, they said that we'd got past the kind of first stage, the audition part, and that we had to submit kind of like this briefing thing. So they would set up a hypothetical craft challenge for you, and you would have to list off all the materials you would need and how long it would take you to make these certain things under this brief. And their hypothetical scenario would be that we would have to make a kind of dog like house space thing for one of the guys from Westlife, I believe, or Boyzone. One of them boy bands, I don't know which one. And this is what I came up with. And by the way, again, this was all very rushed, very short notice. They didn't give you a lot of time to think about these things. I think I had like a few days to sort it all out. And my idea was that I was going to make this quite conventional doghouse out of wooden planks. It would have a tyre as the entrance. I would also make cushions. It would have tyre baskets on the side, and I would make the entire roof out of ping pong balls. And I think the time frame for that was 6 hours. There's no way I would be able to make that in 6 hours. There's no way I would be able to make that. But it was hypothetical, thank God. So I sent it off and just waited around again. And then after about a week after I'd submitted all of that kind of stuff, I think they sent me an email back saying that I'd been successful and that I was going to be on the TV show. And these are the days that they were going to be recording, blah, blah, blah. So make sure to get time off work and stuff like that. And all I needed to do was pass the psychiatrist kind of test. And I know what you're thinking, I failed the psychiatrist test. It's not that, don't worry. So I was getting everything organised. I was like, okay, so I'm going to need this day off for recording and this day off because it was all going to be down in London, and I was going to obviously have to stay in a hotel and travel down there. All of those expenses would be paid for. And a little bit later on, I had my little Skype conversation with the psychiatrist, who basically asked me very generic questions on whether I suffer from anxiety, whether I've ever been depressed, things about my home life, etc., just to see if I'm a sound person. But the problem is, if you're doing a psychiatrist test with this person over Skype, a very easy way to kind of get around it is just to lie. So if they were asking me questions where I'm like, oh, they want to hear this, but in reality, this is what I actually feel like. I just went with what they wanted to hear. So I passed with flying colours. If I'd given them the truth, I would have failed. But at least they are doing something. Mental health is not something to joke about. And I do know a lot of people kind of struggle in that kind of format and stuff. So I'm not making fun of it. I'm just making the whole situation lighthearted because that's just my style. I'm definitely not taking the piss or anything like that because I know what it's like to be in a shitty place. So then not long after that, I got a phone call from the head director of this production company, and it went something a little bit like this. Oh. Hello?
Hi, is this Anthony?
It is, yep.
Oh, hi, it's so-and-so from the production company. We just wanted to say that we absolutely love you, we think you're fantastic, everything you've done has been absolutely amazing.
Okay.
Obviously we know that you're going to be on the show and stuff like that, and we can't wait to have you on the show. We think you're going to be so good for it. It's going to be such a great opportunity for you. You're fantastic, we love you, we think you're hilarious. But we were just wondering if it would be possible that you would be a reserve. So if you're going to come down to London, and we just want you to basically stay there just in case someone backs out last minute, and then you can step in.
No. Basically, it went something like that. Not to that extent. But they were basically wanting me to be a reserve for them, so that in case anyone got sick or anyone backed out last minute, I would step in and be on the show. And I would just sit in the hotel and wait. And I politely declined because A, I'm not going to take time off work and travel all the way down to London on the off chance that I could possibly potentially be on this TV show if someone backs out. And secondly, I can't stand it when people blow smoke up my ass and lie to us. It really irritates us. It really bothers us. I would much prefer someone to be just like super blunt with us and say, we really like you, but we like these other people more. So we would just like you to be on the back burner just in case one of these better people drops out, and then we'll get you into the show. If you'd said that, it would have worked a lot better for you. But the fact that they were going on about how much they loved us and how much they wanted us to be on the TV show and everything, it just doesn't work with us. I'm like, no thanks. I can smell your bullshit from a mile away. So I politely declined all of that, and they weren't very happy with me. They weren't very happy that I was saying no, and that I wasn't prepared to heave my ass down to London and take time off work and stuff. They almost thought that like I didn't have a life and I didn't have things to do, and that my whole life centered around their competition show that I wasn't getting paid for, and that there was no prize at the end. So it was pretty much worthless to us. And that's basically it. That's the entire story of how I nearly ended up on the TV show, The Fantastical Factory of Curious Crafts. And I will say the audition process and all of that kind of stuff and the Manchester auditions and everything, it was all really enjoyable. I actually had quite a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. It was just being pissed around and bullshitted that I just don't appreciate. Maybe that's what they do in kind of the entertainment industry, but it just doesn't work with people like me. I can just see through it. However, if they were compensating us, so if they were paying us to sit in a hotel room and hang about just in case, or if there was like a grand prize for winning this competition show, then fair enough, I would get my ass down to London, wait in a hotel and hope that someone gets sick. But it definitely wasn't a bad experience or anything like that, and I met some really nice people there. They were really lovely. But I also want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments whether you've ever been on TV before, or whether you've ever applied for a TV show and gone through the kind of audition process. I'll be interested to hear. And if you enjoyed this little story time, I know it's very different from what I normally do. I just thought it was quite topical, and some people might be interested, especially if you plan on auditioning for a TV show or anything like that. You'll kind of get the gist of what it's going to be like, but I wouldn't want to put anyone off it. It was enjoyable. But if you enjoyed this little extra video, then make sure to give it a thumbs up. And I guess now it's time for my cringy audition video. That did get me a place to physical audition, so it mustn't have been that bad. Either that or they were absolutely desperate for people. It's just awful, and I couldn't edit it either, so just keep that in mind. So don't take the piss out of us in the comments, okay? But anyway, I'll see you on Friday for a brand new video, and enjoy the audition tape. Bye! Hello, I guess this is my audition tape for this crafting show that I've applied for, and my name's Anthony. You can just call us Ant if you want. And I thought I'd talk about a previous craft project that I'd made. And by the way, I apologise, I couldn't find a blank wall in my studio. I'm a huge hoarder, everything is covered in everything. Right, so I made this not long ago, and I thought it was pretty cool. And it's basically just an upcycled bicycle wheel, which I had to take all the kind of bearings and all the kind of mechanisms out from the middle, and then I spray painted it in a gloss blue paint. And then I bought all these artificial vines and flowers and chopped all the heads off and whatnot and just hot glued it all together. But it was quite difficult because obviously it's a hollow space, so I had to build up lots of layers in order to have a solid surface where I could glue all the flowers onto. But I think it looks really cool. It cost me quite a lot of money. It cost me a lot more money than I thought I was going to spend, but I do think it looks nice. I think it would look nice in like a cottage or somewhere vintagey or something. And that just kind of lives in my studio. Oh, bollocks. Right. And I think... Oh, actually, I'll show you something else. I'll show you one of my paperweights as well that I've made. So I don't know whether you'll be able to see it very well, but this is a resin paperweight. I made it from polyester resin, and then I just encapsulated some feathers inside, and I think they look really cool. And that's kind of something I'm very familiar with, is resin. I absolutely love making things with resin. Usually polyester. I sometimes make things with epoxy as well, but I absolutely love it. I think it's a great material to work with. And also, to make that, I made a mould out of liquid latex, which is something I'm quite familiar with as well. I'm just going back and forth, sorry. I don't know how much I'm allowed to edit, so usually I cut out all my empty spaces, but I'm going to try not to in this video. Right, and obviously a lot of the things behind us I've kind of made, or I've upcycled, or I've done things with. I'm quite a creative person. Right, I've got some questions that need answering. What are my hobbies? So I actually have 5 dogs, 2 Jack Russells, 2 Irish Red Setters, and a Belgian Malinois. And I quite enjoy taking them for walks and looking after them. I'm also a bit of a nerd, so I like video games and horror movies. When I have time, I don't get a lot of free time, but when I do, I like to do stuff like that. And I'm a huge Drag Race fan. In fact, I've got another thing, one sec. This will probably be the most chaotic audition tape you've had. So I actually craft some of the drag queens from the show as well. I don't know whether you're familiar with it. And this one is Bianca Del Rio. And you might not think it looks like Bianca Del Rio, but I can assure you it's Bianca Del Rio. And I just made her out of polymer clay, which is baked in the oven. And then I just painted it in acrylic paint. So that's another thing I enjoy doing. And I do a lot of this stuff on my YouTube channel. And I started my YouTube channel because I had just finished my master's degree in fine art, and that was a 2-year-long degree, which was very tiring, very exhausting, and I was doing that while I was working full-time as well, and it just kind of sapped all the energy out of us. So once I kind of finished there, my art practice and kind of what I was making artistically was just put on the back burner because I was just exhausted from it all, and I'm still on a little bit of a break with it all, but I'm focusing more on kind of the crafting and the less kind of serious nature of things, because I think I take life, well, I think life in general can be taken too seriously, and I think sometimes you just need to have a lot of fun with things. So I'm just in that kind of mindset where I'm there, and I just don't really know what I want to do with my life anymore, to be fair. But yeah, so I do a lot of things on YouTube while I'm on a break from my art practice. Right, more things you want to know. Interesting fun facts about me. I haven't ever broken a bone in my body. I must be incredibly flexible. I have 5 dogs. I don't really have a lot of interesting things. I do have a master's degree in fine art. I have my undergraduate degree in fine art. And I've actually sold some resin sculptures. I don't know whether you can see them. Hang on. They'll be on my shelving over there. You probably can't see them very well, but I can't edit this. But yeah, I've sold some resin sculptures to different countries. So I have them in America, Mexico, Australia, and around the United Kingdom as well. But I still work as a catering assistant full time. I just kind of do things together and somehow I find time. Right, next. Any good stories to share? I don't think I have any decent... I don't think I have any decent... what's the word? Appropriate stories to share. They probably all involve alcohol. So yeah, I don't know. You'd probably just have to be more specific. Good stories. No, I can't think of any off the top of my mind, but you didn't give me a lot of time to make this video. It's Wednesday and I have to get this video to you on Friday, and I'm going to see a drag show tonight actually, so I need to get ready for that. Right, if I had 5 hours to make something, what would it be and how would I do it? I have actually seen a kind of mirror frame where you use lots of army soldiers and lots of random toys and kind of glue it all together and upcycle a mirror and turn it into an ornate kind of frame with gold paint. And you can do that, and I quite enjoy incorporating unconventional materials into things. So I would like to make something like that, or maybe some kind of resin jewellery or something along them lines. I'm not sure. If I was to make something for a celebrity to take home and keep, who would it be and what would you make and why? I would actually quite like to make maybe like a fascinator or some sort of crown or headpiece for RuPaul to wear, because then I can say I've dressed RuPaul. I think that'd be pretty amazing. And if not, I'm kind of obsessed with Sarah Beanie and Alex Polizzi, the hotel inspector, and I'm not sure what I would make for them. Obviously maybe something for Alex's hotel, and maybe something ornate or vintage for Sarah's kind of country house. I don't know whether she still has that or not. So maybe furniture thing? I don't know. What would I make? Maybe. Oh, I could make a wreath. I've got a pom-pom wreath up there, which you can't see. Hang on. I'll show you that. Yeah, there. I made that pom-pom wreath. And it takes a long time. I don't know whether you've ever made pom-poms. They take forever. But I think they look really cool. It doesn't show up very good on camera, but using brighter colours would be really cool. But I would need a long time to make something like that. And yeah, I think that's about it, really. Do you want to know anything else? I think that is about it. So that is my audition tape. I was worried, but can't talk. I was very worried about going over the 20 minutes, and I'm only 11 minutes in, so I've cut it short. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this audition video, and that pretty much sums me up. I'm just a northern guy who really enjoys crafting and takes the more fun, light-hearted approach to it. And I know there'll be some very serious crafters out there, and that's fine too. And I think that's about it. I think that's all I have to say, really. So hopefully I get accepted, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Okay, bye.